a proposal was brought up on how to raise additional dollars. Proposal was referred to as a restaurant tax. And since it was John's proposal, we'll start with him. What is that?
You know, the city has, nobody wants to talk about raising taxes, and it's the last thing I ever want to do, but at some point, when revenues go down, we're not going to be in a position where you can raise real estate taxes or raise property taxes without a citizen revolt in Omaha. I mean, I just don't think we're in a position where you can really effectuate raising property taxes. The Chamber of Commerce will tell you that there is room to raise our restaurant tax, that our restaurant tax is not comparable with other cities, and that their figures point to a 1% increase in the restaurant tax is $30 million. Now, the restaurant industry will scream and shout, and when they tied it to the ballpark, I understand not wanting to have a restaurant tax tied to the ballpark. If you don't want the ballpark and you're not in favor of the ballpark, you certainly don't want to pay a restaurant tax. But I think if you had a meaningful addition to the restaurant tax that was used solely to bolster infrastructure, fire, and police, that $30 million, or whatever that number comes out to be, was dedicated solely for those funds, I think you could get public buy-in for it. And I think we're kidding ourselves if we say we can see the kind of decrease in sales tax that's going to occur if we don't need to find some additional sources of funding.
Okay, I guess it excuses our naivete.
And maybe mine too.
Define what a restaurant tax is, because every time I ask, no one seems to know what it is.
There's an additional tax on top of sales tax that would be added to dining out. So it wouldn't be fast food.
So it doesn't exist now.
My understanding is it does exist now. This is my
I've only when I go out to restaurants, and it's been the 7.5 cent sales tax. Is it something that the restaurants absorb, or is it something that's added to the bill?
It's added to the bill, and I thought that I don't have the number off the top of my head, which I should. So I don't have the number off the top of my
familiar
head.
with it at all?
Well, I mean, when they were first talking about it, they were talking about, for instance, if you went to a fast food place,
Right.
you know, you drive through, you don't pay taxes now on it, and that you would pay a tax on that. Of course, what John said is true, that the restaurant, you know, the owners and the managers are totally against it because it just adds a
So
more.
if we go into a sit-down restaurant today, we'll see a 7.5% sales tax plus a restaurant tax on the bill.
It's something.
It's an additional tax that
That
is
already
true.
exists.
No, you don't. Like if you go to a fast food restaurant now,
I'm
you
not
don't
talking
pay
fast
tax.
food. You walk into whatever restaurant,
Mhm.
sit down to eat. I understand. Sit down to eat. There is a tax that exists. I'm trying to get a handle because.
My understanding.
We're not saying we know.
Yeah.
That's
No,
what I'm
you know what?
asking.
My understanding was that there was that.
I know
in place.
that's right.
I'll be
I
honest,
know
they
they've
probably-
talked
yeah.
about it, but and so you're looking for an increase to that tax.
Correct, but I will look and I will find out what that current number is.
And we're not trying to set anyone up, we're just trying to get.
Yeah, no, and I'm not feeling, I've always assumed, given that the talk about the increase in the numbers, that the chamber points out that there was some tax that they were operating from, but it could be that I don't have that number.
I'll have more money questions about the campaigns later, but you have more issues.
Well, and that's,
there.
you know, that's.
This was tied with issues here, and that's why.
Yeah, no, and it's like I said, I mean, we got to be creative. Like I said, we cannot raise property taxes and without, like I said, a citizen revolt. I don't think we're in a position to do that. But sales taxes are going to be decreasing. We haven't even started to talk about what happens when valuations start to decrease, and you know, that's probably coming too. We need to look at where the city's not being effective at raising revenue.
I can tell you valuations are already starting to come down.
Valuations are coming down. I can tell you that for sure. In the Miller District, we average 6% valuation increase per year since I've been on the board, and last year it was 2.7%. And when you pay for things with public money and people's taxes, I mean, it's you pay one way or another. But in this economy, you certainly don't. You want to run as efficiently and effectively as you possibly can. And you know, but again, you're paying for things with people's tax money, and whether it's property tax or whether it's a restaurant tax or whatever, there's got to be revenue sources coming in, and it takes somebody that really understands where these sources are coming in and to prioritize.
Okay. Before we move on, would you like to respond?
Nothing to say. I will work on. I obviously need to get the figures down if I'm going to work in that figure, but I'll look into it.
Okay. Retirement. I believe this